Nicholas, thank you for joining. Don, JP, Dakota, Desmond, thank you. We are looking to have this driven with feedback, and the reason for that is I think it makes for a richer experience. It's goofy out there, guys, and we're going to talk about that. Again, a K-shaped economy. We have the haves and have-nots, but it's a little bit goofy. Your questions will drive us, and we'll hit them head on. If not, fasten your seatbelts because I know the panelists, and it could get kind of goofy. But with that said, where are we at? 4 minutes after. Yeah, people are coming in. Let's get going. Carl,
It starts with a prompt from you in an app. Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called rounding.
Hey, someone's AI is fighting with my AI.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. My AI can beat up your AI, so.
Hey, those are fighting words. Those are I have really good AI with my son in San Jose, so stop it. But Carl, why don't you summarize, because I talked with Mark last night. Mark, thank you for your time last night. We actually had one of our long conversations, but I thought you summed it up well with, and I concurred that ChatGPT and now Gemini and the other tools are a potential tier 1 replacement for MSPs. I think I joked with you that we should get the domain name fireyoursmsp.com from a contrarian point of view. Now, I can't do that. That would be some pretty serious brand damage. But why don't you quickly summarize that? And we'll go around the horn. Phelim, I'm going to have you summarize what you wrote, Mark as well, what we talked about last night. So over to you, Carl.
Thank you. Part of it is you have to step back, right? Step back and say, okay, in this industry, what happens? And we've seen it time and time and time again. Things that become very difficult, we make a bunch of money on. And those things get easier and easier and easier. And then we don't make money on it anymore, right? I literally, in October of 1995, I quit my job and became an IT consultant 30 years ago, a couple months ago. And at that time, I literally made a ton of money getting people connected to the internet. Now you go online and you click a button on your phone and a router shows up and you plug it in and you're on the internet. And so you don't need an MSP for that. You don't need an IT consultant for that. You don't even need an IT consultant to tell you which internet service provider you should be using. So that's happened time and time again with every technology. And so I'm sorry to tell people that the basic tools that we use, anything that can be provided by your RMM, can be done by a client by themselves for 95% of the clients. And again, there's a tier. There's a tier at the top that will never do that themselves. Those are the people that they get a big scary note and they hand it to you and say, can you read that for me? Right? Those people will always exist. At the other end are people who try everything themselves. Oh, let me try this. If it breaks, I'll call Carl. If it doesn't break, well, then I'm good to go. And so AI is going to make that so much easier. Even now today, I've talked to people that something pops up on their screen and they put it in. I get this error from Microsoft that says, number, blah, blah, blah. What the hell is that? What do I do about it? And it comes up with a click-by-click answer. And that's not Gemini, and that's not ChatGPT. That's just, I put that in the Google search, and whatever they're using, that's what shows up. And it's quite phenomenal. And when I've talked to MSPs about that, the most common response I get is, well, that won't affect us, and that's not part of what we have to worry about, and it's certainly not going to happen in the next year. And I'm like, but you're going to be slapped very, very hard if you believe it's not happening already by your employees and your clients, and certainly your prospects. So just a word of warning.
Thank you, Carl. It's been good. I've enjoyed the dialogue, as always. Thank you very much. I'll keep the light on out here in Austin for your next visit. Phelim, same offer. Why don't you summarize what your thinking was in the article? Oh, and I'll put the article in chat. I promised to do that. Hang on, folks. Phelim, over to you.
Well, looking back, it does look a bit like a hodgepodge of ideas. But I thought, based on events and things that I've been doing, that I thought literally we could focus on a hunger for market specialization if a lot of tooling is allowing people to do a lot more. If that promise comes true, then however, I am reminded of people saying I've got one law firm in my portfolio and that's enough. Thank you very much. So I don't want to be a law firm specialized service. And then I thought, well, we can talk about this battle between SaaS providers and channel, and the way in which some SaaS providers are making it into top whatever number lists of MSPs. And you start to say, how did that happen? Since they are not an MSP. It's the same like the top 100 VARs. There's very few VARs go play. And then I thought, well, what about something a bit timely? Private equity getting disillusioned with the channel because they thought they might be able to consolidate some players and realized that actually it's a people business and it's not that consolidated, achievable. So they ended up focusing on more software. But the latest observation, as we were just discussing, is even layoffs in the SaaS world. So I don't know where that leaves us, but that's what I came up with for the report.
Oh, thank you. And Mark, that actually plays well into our evening call last night. Thank you again. I'm sorry to take away family time, but we talked about the value of being, let me use an analogy. They often fail, but if I said I was at a law firm as a senior professional, I'd be a rainmaker or of counsel. And what that means is my Rolodex. Right, so I can pick up the phone. I'm on the board of the zoo. I mean, I'm making that up, but it's how the game is played. And Mark, you and I had a good dialogue on that, and I think, Phelim, that's where you left us off. Is that AI is not going to steal my Rolodex, right? Because hopefully I can make a call, present company accepted, and my call will be answered. Right, and you're not going to answer AI. So, Mark, over to you. You had a couple additional thoughts.
Yeah, and Phelim, I think your point about and I in my the points that I sent over to Harry for that article, I think my first one was market differentiation, and I think that AI is coming. It's not here. I think there's really interesting things happening with solutions like what Thread's doing, and I think that MSPs need to be figuring that out. And I mean, it's whether they buy it or build it, I think there's I'd argue buy it from somebody who does nothing but that, but generally, especially for niche players. But I think that market differentiation is going to be is not going to be able to be usurped by AI, to Harry's point. And I think it really, in the work that I'm doing with just helping companies think about growth and where the next in this weird market, as Harry talks about, I'm optimistic about what AI is going to do generally, but it is going to leave people behind who aren't getting ready for it. It can't replace humans, certainly not yet. Augment, yes, but not replace. And I think MSP owners and leaders have to be thinking about where they want to differentiate around AI. Phelim, I think that's kind of your point, and then really, and I know that was where Harry and I kind of landed last night. But it's not about necessarily the tools. It's about it's about differentiating around customer experience, vertical. Because my opinion is, and especially around some of the AI work that I've seen, is there's a lot of risk around AI for companies. They may go down a path of trying to do it themselves. Great if they want to invest in that, but there's a large class. I think there's a larger class of kinds of companies out there not thinking about AI yet, not ready for AI, and that MSPs offer almost some kind of insurance policy on the risk around AI and how they think about AI. And so I think there's a lot of there's a lot of product enhancement that can happen, or service enhancement that can happen around the definition of how we craft these offerings to go out to customers and meet them where they are and stay ahead of them and lead them to the answer, and then think about their products differently. And the example Harry and I talked about last night is an MSP that is focused on the healthcare space that I've worked with, and they look at themselves as that risk management solution. So they went out and partnered with an insurance company, and that insurance company now offers a discount on insurance, cyber insurance, because they're using that MSP service. And that's the kind of, I think, tangential thinking that we're going to have to be doing to add more value, create a unique customer experience, and create that truly differentiated offering. AI enables that for the MSP and helps manage the cost of delivering that experience and that kind of service package. And I think that's kind of where I'm seeing, because at the end of the day, the markets, private markets, specifically investors, if we're looking to exit, and I know I'm not a banker, I'm not an M&A financial M&A guy, but I know that investors are looking for those companies that are really focused on bottom line, EBITDA, net margin, all those things that really matter. And I think that's where AI can help.
Yeah, that's a whole nother webinar. Hey, Keith, welcome from Southern California. Please introduce yourself, please, and then I have a couple questions for you. You are a panelist.
So I'm Keith Nelson. I run a small MSP out here in Southern California, best known for automating the shipping ports.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with a lot of the panelists on a lot of things, because I think when you shop at Kmart, when you buy at Kmart, you sell at Kmart. So I am completely opposed to any AI in your customer facing, and I hope all my competitors do, so I could steal your customers. I think customers will pay. Well, I know they will pay for service and value, and we need to stop thinking there's this fake $300 limit per device, because you're shortchanging yourself. So, but our MSPs is, like I said, we're a small MSP. We have about a staff of 5. Last year we did a little over 6.7 million. So,
pretty good, dude.
And we do that based. Well, I think that's a service attitude. I think when we go to shows, we hear people going, "How much does this cost?" You're going, "No. How much value does it bring?" And we have to start rethinking our thought process, because the cost of a license is minuscule compared to the cost of labor, and even smaller compared to the cost of customer acquisition. And Carl, you're free to heckle me.
Well, I do have to say that the thing about avoiding AI in your client interactions is absolutely true, at least for the next year. Like, we'll see you next year. But, where have you been most irritated on the internet in the last 6 months? Well, it's a little thing in the corner that you click on, and it doesn't help you, and it just pisses you off. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss, so take that out. But that's where irritation comes from. And if you say, "Oh, I'm going to help my clients put a widget in the corner of every machine so they can irritate their clients," no, don't do that. Don't treat your clients that way, and don't let them treat their clients that way. And there will be people, the 95% who are lazy, they will gobble this stuff up. And I believe that you will eat their lunch.
Yeah, I walked away from a car dealership because they had me go through a phone tree. And I said, "If you're going to sell me this car, I want your cell phone, or I'll go to another dealer, period."
Yep.
Yeah, and with
Keith,
that said,
I'm curious, because I agree with almost everything. I mean, I agree with what you said, and I think that Harry and I were making that point, is that you can't augment the human relationship. You can augment the human relationship, but you can't replace it. And I'm curious, though, from your perspective, do you think, are you looking at AI in your back office to help lower your service delivery costs? Is that fair game for you?
Partially true. I'm looking at to augment it to improve it. I do not have
Yeah,
a
that's what I mean.
goal of directly lowering the service cost. I'm looking at it to um, present better reports on shipping.
Yeah,
But as my goal is not set out, I want to lower my costs. I want to improve my customers' experience. I always say a couple things. If for those who've heard me speak, you go, he's old, he repeats himself. You know, you
Yes,
set,
I'll vouch for
and
that.
number one is you sell to your customer's customer. Number
right.
two is tech is boring. You better be selling structured to measurable business outcomes. So, as an example, the one client we're very well known for, which is our QBRs say this is how many longshoremen we dispatch to jobs on time, how many tickets, how many service calls that took. No one cares. We care because we look and say, look at I'm a superhero, but no one else cares. What I focus on is this is the number of longshoremen that have been to work on time. And by the way, we have never missed a dispatch. Our downtime is still zero. For hospitality clients, my QBR says this is the average wait time at a front desk. Carl's a traveler. I know there's other people on the line. What do you hate? Delayed at the airport, and now you got to wait 15 minutes at the front desk. And there's a thing in hospitality that they call it butts and beds, and the number's 5 minutes. You're willing to wait 5 minutes. And this is from the surveys. So we show how our automation and how our integration of their systems and alarming the back office to come to the front office keeps that number under 5. All the magic juice we did to make that happen, no one cares about, but they're willing to pay to keep that number under 5.
And one of the things you mentioned is that, you can augment what you're offering. And to Mark's point, you say, well, AI won't replace humans. Well, okay, if you got an office with 14 people or even 50 people, you're not likely to replace one of them with AI. But what you can do is generate reports like Keith alluded to, right? What can you give your clients that you can't currently do without spending a whole bunch of money, right? So you don't do it now, and you don't hire somebody to do it. But if you can get an agent to go out, collect information, put it together, and generate something, at least a first draft to give to your clients, you can provide better services without, having to fire anybody. And in fact, because you're offering a higher value, you can charge more. But that requires you have to have an attitude that you're going to provide as much as you can, and you're going to find clients who are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me interjecting,
and I'm saying,
or go ahead, Keith.
yeah,
No,
I'm saying the most important thing is you have to be committed to service, and so you can't sit there and say I'm going to charge you X number of dollars, and that's because we offer great service, and then you don't. So we pride ourselves on the service delivery, and that's really it's not whether we did a good job, it's whether they think we did a good job, and those are mutually exclusive.
Well, but Mark, you and I were talking last night about reputation is earned, right? And you were over at Ernst and EY and Accenture, and I cut my teeth in the '90s at Clark Newberg, large CPA firm, and we took reputation extremely seriously in Seattle. If you do not make a mistake, okay, or you'll be fired. It's that simple. And Keith, I think you're getting to that you have to earn that reputation, deliver on time, and I like it. But I'll tell you what, let's take a slight turn, maybe a little bit of a pause. Kevin, if you can come online, you're in arguably the world's largest MSP franchise, CMIT Solutions out of Austin. I'm actually having dinner tomorrow night with your former founder who exited, Jeff Conley. But What are you hearing in your world? Because you have a heck of a database. And are you guys up to 400 franchises? As I recall, it's a relatively large number.
I think we're somewhere around the 300. And I don't know if that's total owners or franchise territories. That number is different, but yeah, we're getting up there.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. You know, in any thoughts on what we're laying out? What conversations are you willing to share that you're having internally from a franchise point of view?
There's all different angles right now, right? I mean, I think the discussion today right now has been awesome as far as, okay, let's differentiate between how we're going to make our own businesses more efficient and then in turn make things better for our customers without necessarily frustrating them with that interface, right? And then also the other piece of it is, now what do we do to support our customers? Because our customers have big questions about that as well. So we go out, many owners, I haven't done this yet, but I need to do this, make presentations to different chambers of commerce and that sort of thing to say, okay, AI is here. Here's what you need to look for. Here's different ways that it can help you, and then also here's how we can help you get there. And that becomes an additional engagement or even a recurring revenue play if you have the right tools in place that you can actually support that. And there's companies that are doing that right now. A number of people at CMIT are looking into and have subscribed to Hats AI, for example. I mean, it's a good kind of an aggregator of multiple LLMs, and with the benefit of being secure. So by default, with the free versions and all that, you don't know that you're the product, as they say. But in these cases, they actually have that sandbox. Drawback of that sometimes is that some of the tools that are available directly from the particular LLM. So whether it's custom GPTs with ChatGPT or some of the different project things that you could do in Claude, those things aren't yet in Hats AI. So even though you have access to the LLMs, they're still somewhat limited. But you know what? For my customers, if they can subscribe to this service where they get an account and I manage it, just like any other managed service that we're providing, then they're going to pay me some money, monthly to give more people more access with less dollars than it would be if they had to subscribe to each of these individually, and then they can pick and choose for themselves which LLMs to use and even build their own automations around that. Or we help them with that. So we set up a project where we can build LLMs that help them streamline their business. And there again, I think it's really valid to say, to help your customers certainly improve their own efficiency so that they can in turn pass that on to their customers, while at the same time not jumping too quickly into the annoy my customers with artificial intelligence interfaces.
Yeah, and Don, again, don't know if Keith, will get right back to you. Don, appreciate your comment in chat. Carl once admitted, Carl, I thought you're here. Don, could you repeat your observation, please, if you want to turn on your mic?
Sure. I feel like I've been called out in class.
Yeah, it is. Even the Socratic method of law school. But Don, where are you from? Quick introduction. What's your story?
Nicholasville, Kentucky, just outside of Lexington. We are a small MSP and about 8 employees. I will give props to Carl. I've been an owner of an MSP for 5 years. First thing I did was read his book, and it was very enlightening. So awesome. That's my story in a nutshell. No, the comment on the reputation is, I think we take it for granted, right? And it kind of hits everything, right? The whole, hey, we give technical answers and this, that, and the other thing, and we've solved the technical problem. We're all good, but that doesn't always hit the human side of it. And we send out surveys, right? Hey, we got a smiley face back. What I've learned is, sorry, my door's open. I apologize if you hear. What I've learned is that the personal touch and just making sure that everybody's okay. And that's on us, right? We have to reach out and keep that communication going. We just can't assume that somebody's going to tell us if they're unhappy. We have to be proactive. And that's my point. It's just proactive communication, being personal, kind of what Keith was talking about, the human element. I agree with him also. Auto attendants drive me stinking bananas. right? If I have to push more than one button, I get it. Like, hey, you need somebody to push one, two. I get that. But when you get the deep dive, man, I don't have the patience. I don't have the time. I'm busy, right?
Yeah.
So that's it all in a nutshell. I don't want to take up too much time. I don't want to.
Well, no, Don, but I appreciate it. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to have an interactive session. Nice to meet you.
And as always, Don, AI is just the next level of the more automation you have, the more you are just another commodity, because you can be replaced by anybody who's got enough automation and has got enough, automated wizards that say, hey, I need a smiley face, right? I can get that anywhere.
Yeah, that's Joshua, thank you for your chat comment on that. Hey, Keith, over to you. You have a hand raised. Keith,
so
what's going on?
I was going to elaborate on what Don said, because I think it's so really you did not get the customer by sending them surveys. So, belly to belly, old school telephones, those work really well. I think email, chat, tickets are abused and we think we're doing our job and our customer doesn't think so. And I think doing things face to face, even when you could do it using Log Me In or Screen Connect, whatever you do, is something you have to put into your daily delivery, because that's how you find out what your customer's doing, what's going on there, and keeping those relationships going. And so running out to a customer just to help him or them do something you could do automated is really important. And you can't. And I have a feeling that, I talked to a lot of MSPs at meetings, and they talk about, I can't break 150 per end user. And I said, because you're just kind of a broker reselling tools. Sorry. I mean, and when you do that, now this will offend some of the salespeople, when you do this good, better, best, which I think is the Cal Worthington 4 square, you're begging your customer to price you. Then at the next year you go, oh, he's price checking me. You go, yeah, you taught him to do that. You said, I'll give you these 8 things for $150. So he's looking for a guy that'll give him 9 for $125. And I go, you're actually training your customers to price you when you're not talking about what's important to them, which is how you're going to enhance their business and how you're going to make them more profitable and how you're going to free up the budget so they could pay for all your cybersecurity things that you think you need to implement. When people say my customer won't pay for it, you go, you haven't improved his bottom line enough to help him afford you. That's your job. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, let me take that, if you don't mind. And Paralee, just tell me when I'm talking too much, as I've been known to. But Carl, you set the standard. I mean, sheesh, 10, 15, 20 years ago about gold, silver, bronze, the Olympic medals. Packaging. Any thoughts for Keith? Because I actually like the early work you did. Are you still telling that story that basically you sell silver, right? You don't really sell bronze and you don't really sell gold.
No. I sell platinum. So silver, gold, platinum.
You did update it.
Here's what I would say, Keith, is that most people have implemented this wrong, in my opinion, because they have 3 distinct values represented in those 3 tiers. I have literally never sold a gold contract. Gold exists so clients can strategically decide, for just a little bit more, I can get platinum. And so they sell themselves platinum. Silver exists for people who can't really afford your services, but they really want to be able to call you when something goes wrong. So silver provides almost nothing if you look at my book. And gold is literally just for everybody, no matter how big or small you are. It's a few $100s less than platinum. And so platinum is everything. And that's what we sold. So when we moved to, the per user pricing, it's just based on our platinum service, because that's what we sold and that's how we built our business. So I think I failed to get the message across about using strategic pricing. So maybe I need to put out another version of that book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Carl,
No,
I
I,
think
I
that's
think there's,
good.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think
Keith.
there's different ways to successfully, I think there's different ways to successfully sell. And I'm not saying my way's right. It just works for me. I go in there and I say, we're focusing on these business outcomes for you, and this is how I can accomplish it. And, if I told them I'm selling them Norton versus Sentinel One, they really don't know. They're going like, oh, both guys have antivirus. So I really don't go down that list, and I don't itemize my bill, and I don't have a plan. I just basically say, you want to, you take the Port of LA, you want to get longshoremen there on time. It's a small network, 12 servers, 15 workstations. We go, how about 2.5 million a year, and we'll get your longshoremen there on time.
Yep.
Yeah, and Keith,
And I
I
don't
like
get
the
in.
way you framed that, because you and Carl are kind of, you're echoing something that I think that I've experienced, but also that I'm working with. I see in my client work, but I think that, what I hear you saying, Keith, is that you differentiate on that customer intimacy, and you're basically you're taking all of the decisions off of them and bearing that on that's the cost of your service. And you've got an intimate relationship with those customers. You understand them, and they will pay for that. So you've differentiated on customer experience. And boy, Carl, what you said about pricing strategy is, I really appreciate that, because I ran my own firm for 10 years, and we walked away from a lot of clients who wanted to just beat us down on pricing. And I think Phelim commented in the chat about just that kind of cost competition. And I think that's where you just have to know who you are, and not be willing to compromise. If you're going to deliver an outcome, if that's how you're pricing your service, you can't apologize for it. And the minute you apologize, you get into that negotiation, and it's a race to the bottom. And there's a place for vendors who are, I think Keith, you were describing as just that, struggling to get that the price up. And there's a place for that, because there's always going to be customers out there who just want to price shop till they get the lowest cost, and whatever, that's fine. They'll probably, they'll learn, and they'll get their experience either that they want at the price they want, or they'll be back, right? I mean, that's my experience.
And to the point of, turning away clients who won't buy the right thing, that is far more important with the ransomware and cybersecurity challenges we have today than it has ever been. You cannot sell an insecure network. And if somebody wants to buy one, you need to say goodbye. You got to find somebody else to support your stuff.
That's right. That's yes, you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and folks, let me see. Joshua, appreciate your comment in the meeting chat. Can you come online? I'd like to hear from you. I track your travel. You're once again platinum with your hotel and your air. You there?
Well, I suppose I am. Well, now I got a microphone. I am. Yeah, I'm here, Harry. Yeah, I have done plenty of travel and collected some points.
Oh, well, no, but it was more about, hang on, let me go back up to your comment about sexual intimacy in the MSP community.
I don't think you're quite pulling the central meaning out of there. I use these sort of analogies a lot, which is why I don't do a lot of webinars.
I get in trouble to talk that way, but go ahead, John.
Keith pointed out that what works for him may not work for others. You're going to go with your strengths, no matter what it is, whether, you're playing midfield in soccer, or as the rest of the world knows it, football, or you're doing like what I said up here. So go with your strengths, but it doesn't really matter how much fun you had if it's not shared. And with clients, as Keith also mentioned, perception becomes reality. And actually, it wasn't Keith, but if we think we did a great job, that's very good, but it's much more important if they do. When I look for feedback, I look for it in person. Because as Keith said, in this case, I go out and visit people. I've done it all this week. This week's excuse is I'm delivering Christmas gifts, but I have different excuses at different times, and sometimes they become a quarterly or a periodic briefing. But most of the time, they're just sit downs because everybody can do stuff remotely. I know how to use a phone, but I also know how to drive. It's easy in Albuquerque. Our most distant point is just about 20 minutes away if traffic is heavy, and traffic is never heavy. So it's easy. It's easy for me to say that. I know in Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, fill in the blanks, that can be an hour or two's commitment. But it's incredibly important. And it's often the only way you get honest feedback is person to person. And as a business owner to a business owner or manager, because almost nobody wants to complain to our tax, at least not about their service.
Yeah, and let me
go ahead.
Excuse me, Carl. Let me just grab that before I space out. But half the people on this call remember the infamous Jenny Hallmark at SMB Nation. And by the way, we still do stuff. I call her Saturday Jenny. So we're good. But she's the one that taught me, and this took I'm just shooting straight with you, but she's the one that taught me to end most emails with "let me know if you have any questions or concerns," because with my conflict adverse personality, I didn't want to invite you to express concerns, right? But if you hit it head on, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at how that changes the direction of the conversation. And again, you know, God, I should have Jenny on. I mean, here, let me, Jenny, can you log on? But like I say, y'all remember her, but I learned a lot along the way. And Carl, maybe that's another topic about learning from your employees, right? Because, you know, I had a little chip on my shoulder back in the SBS days. My bad. I did. But man, I learned from everybody I hired. I learned something. And you're doing books on hiring, and then you have the subsite of Relax, Focus, Succeed, sort of the Zen of life. Do you want to catch what I'm throwing, and then we'll move on?
Yeah, well, you know, you can always learn from anybody, and I think employees, most people, I think, don't think of employees as such an integral part of their long-term business plan, right? And if you think about it, if you said, "Oh, sorry, Jenny, you know, whatever, 20 years ago, you get to be an administrative assistant."
She was
right?
there 16, but I know what you're saying.
But you know, if you said, "I put you in this box and that's what you can do," that'd be one thing. But when you say, you know, explore your skills, see what you're good at, and then we're going to double down on that, you help her build her career, and that is good for you in the long term, right? None of your employees are probably going to retire with you, right? If you're lucky, you get them for 5 years. If you're super lucky, you get them for 10, but they're going to do something else. They're going to move to another state. They're going to get married. They're going to die. They're going to do something. They're going to leave you.
Oh, okay.
And if they don't die, they're going to have a career, and you should be a key part of that. You should be mentoring them. You should be helping them to grow as human beings and as business people. And in turn, what that does is you help them bring out talents that they didn't know they had before. The best employees I ever had started as administrative assistants.
Yeah. No, and I bored half of you on this call with passing the torch, right? To again, you know, apparently I know you're getting tired of my storytelling, but you know, passing the torch to my son and AI, but that's how the game's played. I mean, that's what you do, right? And Carl, you're echoing that. That's what you do, is you pass the torch. Apparently, you're always welcome to pop in and chat.
Well, I did have a question because I fully agree, and that's how I manage my own teams. Is I try to hire people who have passion and grit and the desire to learn, and I find that they make the greatest employees and are the easiest to promote. Now, one thing I will say is that working for an AI service desk company at Thread, I believe that there are lots of opportunities for AI and automation to help those administrative assistants or those dispatchers automate a lot of their work so that they can spend more time on learning new skills and spending more time being a person instead of just taking down notes and logging stuff into a PSA.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Can we hear from someone we haven't heard from? Troy, how you doing? Been a while since I've seen your name. You want to weigh in on anything or just a holiday greeting?
Hey there, Haley. Good to see you. Everybody else here. No, I doubt anybody knows me, although I've followed some of you for my whole career.
Oh,
and I'm also an old guy. I cut my teeth on Novell Network 2.15C and ArcNet. Yeah.
Don't age yourself. Go on, Troy. I'm just giving you a hard time.
So, yeah, this whole discussion about AI and MSPs. We had our strategic planning meeting for our business yesterday. And one thing that was front and center through the SWOT analysis we did is, AI is it's not going anywhere, and we either need to embrace it or succumb to it. So I think it's going to be a very interesting year coming up, 2026, to see what emerges for the MSPs. Again, very early days, but it's definitely something that we have to embrace, or we will eventually become involved with, like the guy that used to install internet services, right?
Well, I love the word evolve. I mean, Carl, you and I have had some late evenings talking about evolution. But Troy, where are you based out of? Forgive me.
Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Cool. All right. Well, we love you.
You remember the 1988 Winter Olympics?
Yeah.
We hosted those Olympics, the only Olympics to ever make money, believe it or not.
Yeah.
That's
right.
right.
Don't get me started. And Apparently started on
that.
that.
Because of who was in charge.
Well, Troy,
you put a money guy. You put a money guy in charge, and he'll make money.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Troy,
we'll stay on business. I was going to talk about Nordic skiing in the U.S. team, but let's talk business. Keith, I think
so
it was
when we talk about hiring, so often you hear this concentration on, I want to hire the best tech, the guy that knows all this mumbo jumbo backroom stuff, and you go, if your company is set up correctly with the right policy and procedures and the allocation to do education on your vendor tool set that you use, I really focus on hiring people that are nice and have good customer service, because the tech's easy. I go, I can teach you tech. I can't teach you to be a nice person. So, I hear them talking about, we want to hire this great super duper tech. I'm blessed. I have a level 3 software developer that'll drive out to the Longshore Hall and fix their printer. There's not a whole lot of guys that'll do that with that level of, he's a 4-year degree guy, and you go, he's a rarity, which is why he hasn't left for 24 years. I won't let him. But, normally there's a conflict. It's the reason he drives a Porsche Cayman. There's a conflict between a lot of times, hiring tech and customer service. And, years ago, one of the vendors, and they're not on the call, they put out a T-shirt that said MSP like it was Superman. And I kept going, what a dumb thing to say. The superhero's our customer. We're just there helping them be more super. And I think that reflects in some of the ego. You get in and we get into meetings and people like to talk about how technically smart they are. And I go, no, that doesn't matter. It's how well do you treat your customers and how profitable do you help them become?
Yeah, and again, let's have a little bit of fun, guys. It's the holidays, but Kevin, early on when we started using the term MSP, I thought of your airport in Minneapolis. And Carl, I think we traded notes on that MSP for Minneapolis, right? It's a little scary. It's a little scary when you can remember the call signs for airports. But Joshua, I don't have to tell you, but in any event, folks, we have just a few minutes left. So I want to go around the horn, maybe hear from people we haven't heard from if you have questions, because what we've tried to do today is assemble a panel of experts in the industry, and here we are, right? That's all I got. Here we are. So maybe I'll call out a couple like law school. What do we have? Bodie, Nicholas, Dakota, Desmond, Aubrey. Any thoughts or concerns, as I like to now say?
Hey there, I am actually just a little bit of a fly on the wall today. I actually work for TD SYNNEX, so we are a large distributor.
Perfect.
Yep.
No, perfect.
Yeah. So I work, my role is called a strategic business manager. So I work with a lot of different vendor lines and kind of look at how they're planning and doing marketing, what their go-to-market is, things like that. So obviously MSPs are a huge piece of that. And it's something, there's a lot of enterprise business we work on, but MSPs are a little bit less understood for us. So listening to this conversation today has been extremely insightful, just how you're all interacting with AI, what you're looking at coming up. And I would love to just kind of be a fly on the wall going forward on these and listening to how we can support, how the vendors can support. And I think it would be really interesting to hear sometime too, how you all want to interact with AI. It's obviously a huge conversation that we have with our vendors and in our business, and hearing what would make processes and purchasing easier from your side would be really insightful to hear sometime. But thank you for letting me join. This has been a very interesting call for me.
Yeah, and Aubrey, two questions. One is, do you recall how you heard about this webinar? Was it my mailing list? I know Thread promoted. Carl, thank you. Phelim, a lot of people promoted. Do you recall how you might have heard of this process? Because it would be good to keep you in the loop.
Yeah, I think I heard about it from your mailing list. I don't remember how I got signed up for that, but I do read quite a few industry publications. So I'm always poking around.
Yeah, that's on me. And then Aubrey, what I would tell you, man, I don't have Dynamics open. I do have a relationship with both TD and SYNNEX, and here's my compliment, is that I think you have worked through, God, that's a whole nother webinar, post-acquisition integration challenges. My experience with the TD SYNNEX merger was, I wouldn't say you guys took a step backwards, but you had to catch your breath, right? Those are some big companies. And what I'm seeing the last 6 months in conversations is that you guys have kind of digested the acquisition, right? And again, that's a compliment. And Mark, you and I have talked a lot about our post-acquisition integration challenges, culture, accounting, yada, yada, yada. But Aubrey, you're probably not at liberty to comment on that. I can appreciate that. Don't lose your day job. Mark, a couple left. Maybe I'll hop over to you. I'm gonna go outside the ranch, but let's talk about the work you've done in M&A and clients and the challenges with post-acquisition, because that's legit.
Yeah, it's legit. Yeah, I mean, that's more than a 7-minute conversation, Harry. Yeah, I think that honestly, post-merger acquisition begins in the acquisition or merger targeting, because culture determines success a successful integration. Aligned goals and making sure everybody knows why they're doing what they're doing. skipping through to that post-merger component, you know, it's hard depending on, especially for scale integrations. But even small integrations, we bought when I, you know, my firm back in 07 or 08, we bought, I'd done a lot of post-merger integration work with EY and due diligence work, but I bought my first company in 07 or 08, and you know, boy, that was a eye opener, and you know, we had a lot of alignment with the leadership team, but we had kind of skipped over that you know, the field services delivery piece of it, and we had a lot of work to do, and it was you know, I think that just keeping everybody on the same page, communication's key, and having a plan to aggressively get the teams working on the same page, and design that future state business is, you know, you got to do it fast, and well, you've got to do it at the right pace that everyone can absorb. I'll say it that way. It's different for every.
Well, hey guys, I'm going to give the gift that keeps on giving. I'm going to give you a little bit of time back. We do have 6 minutes, but Paralee, do you want to take us out? And then I'd like to wish everybody the best of holidays. But Paralee, over to you. And by the way, Thread is a partner, a sponsor of some of the things we've done, including this report and the webinar. So thank you, Paralee. Please pass that on to the team.
Yes, I absolutely will. And thank you everybody for attending. It was really a pleasure to work with all of the experts on this call and get to hear all of your opinions on it, because it's these conversations that matter the most. You know, like I said, I put a link to an ebook that we wrote, but nobody's actually going to read that. They're going to wait for the sound clips from you guys and wait to meet you at the conferences and ask you what you think. So thank you for sharing with us. Thread is always happy to sponsor conversations about how to make MSPs more successful.
And thank you very much. Folks, have the happy holidays, I like to say, you know, because I have friends of different faiths, so forgive me. I'm West Coast, but I truly meant it. Carl, you're gonna take the granddaughter to Maui. You're a holiday kind of guy. We'll send you out with the final word.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I just want to make sure that everybody knows, hey, AI is your opportunity, literally, and we all talked about how old we are. We haven't seen this much opportunity since the internet was released to the public. And I honestly, that is no exaggeration. I know you hear it and it gets old, but I'm just telling you, this is a spectacular time to be in this business.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Again, we're going to give back a little bit of time. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll catch you on the flip side, as they say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.